Hi everyone, it's Linda here. How are you today? It's a beautiful day in New York City, and I went out for a walk this morning. And I was thinking about a video I just made. I had made most of all of my videos to date. It's about 6 weeks into this project, but I made all of them in my bedroom, which functioned as my studio as well. So I thought, let me go into a different room. And since I wanted to talk about toothbrushes, guess where I went? I went into the bathroom and I filmed it and I was okay with it, but listening to it, it was very echoey. Of course it was. So during my walk this morning, I thought, let me give it a new take. Let me try it again. So this is take two, and I'm rather than being in the bedroom, my husband graciously left so I could have the living room to myself. We live in a one-bedroom New York City apartment, so things can be a little challenging at times. But just getting back to our discussion today about toothbrushes, the way or let's just back up a little bit and talk about housekeeping as it relates to this YouTube channel. I was never a big YouTube person. I don't know about you, but I never understood what playlists were about until I worked with a consultant on this project. And she explained that playlists are sections. So it made a lot of sense in organizing my YouTube channel to create the same sections as I have chapters in my book. So my book is the Be Clear method, and the Be Clear, the acronym Be Clear, is a 7-step approach to wellness or feeling better with bronchiectasis. So let me explain. The B stands for breathing. The E stands for exercise. The C for clearance of the airways. The L for laughter. The E for eating and drinking. The A for alternative therapies. And the last one, the R, is for relaxation, rest, and sleep. But then I started to realize that there might be a few things that just don't quite fit into one of those categories. So I'm not opposed to having a miscellaneous file or a junk drawer, so to speak, but nothing's junk here. Everything's good information. But I am going to create another section, another playlist that basically has more tips for living with bronchiectasis. So that's where you will find this talk about toothbrushes. So, honestly, it's been 5 years since I've been diagnosed, and I've made many, many changes, and I've recorded them, and I experimented. But one thing that I didn't address until this most recent year was my toothbrush. So I did ask a scientist in the NTM because in addition to bronchiectasis, I previously had an NTM infection. And I did ask him what he thought about toothbrushes and oral health, oral care. And he said, well, Linda, NTM isn't in the microbiome in the mouth, so it's not really something you have to think about. But giving it more thought, I'm like, wait, we cough a lot. We do airway clearance. Mucus does come into our mouth, and if we have NTM, it might be in it. So I just felt it was a good idea to take some precautions around toothbrushes. And what I did is I bought another toothbrush, and I made a commitment to every couple of weeks to swapping out my toothbrush, but also on a more regular basis to using a little dish soap to clean the bristles on my toothbrush regularly throughout the week. But I have a client, and I've been working with him for some time on a weekly basis. And when we talked about toothbrushes, he's a very creative guy, and he took it a step further. He just bought a whole bunch of toothbrushes and was working with them. He also had a baby bottle sterilizer. So his technique for keeping his toothbrushes clean was pretty much to pop them into the baby bottle sterilizer, steam sterilizer regularly. And certainly this is a good approach. So I do think that whatever we decide to do, whether it's just using a little dish soap and rubbing it into the bristles and rinsing them off every night or every couple of nights, or just using them or having multiple toothbrushes like I do, and then just putting them with my nebulizing equipment and sterilizing them. They actually, the baby bottle steam sterilizer works very well, as does my UV sterilizer, because I also have a UV baby bottle sterilizer. So whatever the technique that works for you, and it has to work for you. There's no one answer. And I think many people see that. You know, we have different lifestyles. Some of us are working full time and don't have a lot of flexibility to our schedules. And sometimes just that extra thing to do is just a bridge too far. And I totally get that. But just be mindful about it. Furthermore, I think another thing we need to think about is this family cup. Do you have a family toothbrush cup? I happen to have, we have, as I said, a one-bedroom apartment, but we have 2 bathrooms because we combined 2 studio apartments. So fortunately, I think my husband would definitely agree. I have my own bathroom and he has his own bathroom. So I don't have his toothbrush in my cup. That sometimes, though, when we've traveled in a hotel, I think we've taken a cup and put our toothbrushes in there together. So this is just another thing to keep in mind. Do you really want your toothbrush next to someone else's toothbrush, even if you really love that person? I don't think so. Especially if you have children, and we know what germ factories they are sometimes. That's terrible to say, but I'm a grandma, so I think I can get away with it. But you want, especially if you know they're just getting over a cold, you want to make sure perhaps to clean their toothbrush or give them a new one, but also to keep yours away from theirs. So I would say one little change or 2 changes we can make are just to clean our toothbrush regularly and not put it in a cup with someone else's toothbrush. I like to refer back to a book I read a while ago called Atomic Habits. And I think the author's name was James Clear. And he was talking about a British cycling team. And if you're a client of mine, if we've done a consultation together, you probably heard the story. So please excuse me for repeating myself. But this British cycling team just never won a race. They never won Tour de France. They just were, unfortunately, they were losers regularly. And they brought in a new coach. So what did that new coach do? That new coach made lots of little changes. So he changed what they wore. He changed how they maintained their bikes. He changed how they trained. He changed what they ate. He changed how they slept, et cetera, et cetera. Lots and lots of little changes. And these little changes did add up to the point where the team won a Tour de France and then consecutively would win races. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to come up with lots of little changes, and hopefully ones that aren't too much of a burden, because with airway clearance, exercise, and healthy eating, we could already have burden enough, but just lots of little changes so that over time, and I emphasize that, over time, these little changes will add up and make a difference. So one other suggestion regarding toothbrushes is another thing I was doing was I had my toothbrush in a cup next to on my vanity, next to my sink to the right-hand side because I'm right-handed. But guess what was right next to the vanity in this relatively small bathroom? My toilet. And of course, you know, I try to make a habit of putting the lid down, but sometimes my grandchildren might use my bathroom, or I might just run in quickly, So I would say sometimes perhaps it doesn't happen. And I read some research, actually saw a video online of where they made the toilet bowl water green, and the room was black, and they flushed the toilet, and all of those particles were just thrown into the air. And their point being that you got to be careful in your bathroom. You don't want to leave your toothbrush out. So whenever possible, put your toothbrush away. You might not want to just put one of those little plastic covers on the bristles, because bacteria can certainly grow inside of that. I do have a little gizmo that I use from a company called Brill, B-R-I-L. It just covers the head of the toothbrush, and it's a UV sterilizer, and it's a great thing to use. Sometimes I use it here. I try to just keep it in my bathroom, but it's really wonderful for vacations. And just one more thing about toothbrushes is that there was a study done, and I think they were looking more specifically at children with cystic fibrosis. And what they found in this study was that they were able to culture I think it was Pseudomonas from the toothbrush, the child's toothbrush. And guess what? They were also able to culture that same Pseudomonas from their toilet. So just another good reason to keep our toothbrushes clean, put them away, and keep them away from our toilets. Okay, take care. I hope you're well, and thank you so much for following me. Please subscribe. Let me know you appreciate these videos. I have to say it's really not my thing, and I'm trying my best, so please, I could use some encouragement, and also like this video. Okay, all the best. Bye-bye.